Pradeva Daitya Martyadibhi Parichitam Sadasad Vishesham Rupam Sthavishtamajate Mahadadyanekam Natah Param Paramavedmi Nayatra Vadaha Tiryannaga Dvijasaris Pradeva Daitya Martyadivi Parichitam Sadasad Vishesham Rupam Stavishtamajate Mahadadyanekam Natah Param Paramavedmi Nayatra Vadaha Tiryannaga Dvijasaris Pradeva Daitya Martyadivi Parichitam Sadasad Vishesham Rupam Sthavishtam Ajate Mahadadyanekam Natah Param Paramavedmi Nayatra Vadaha. Word for word. Tiryak, by animals. Naga, trees. Dvija, birds. Sarishpra, reptiles. Deva, demigods. Daitya, demons. Martya adibihi, by men, etc. Parichitam, pervaded. Sat asat, Vishesham, with varieties manifest and unmanifest. Rupam, form. Sthavishtam, gross, universal. Aja, O unborn. Te, your. Mahat adi, caused by the total material energy, etc. Anekam, various causes. Na, not. Ataha, from this. Param, transcendental. Parama, O supreme. Vedmi, I know. Na, not. Yatra, where. Vadaha, various arguments. Translation. My dear Lord, O Supreme Unborn, I know that the different varieties of living entities, such as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, and human beings, are spread throughout the universe, which is caused by the total material energy. And I know that they are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. But I have never experienced the supreme form I behold as I see you now. Now all kinds of methods of theorizing have come to an end. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he has spread himself throughout the universe. But although everything is resting upon him, he is aloof. The same concept is expressed here by Dhruva Maharaj. He states that before seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, he had experienced only the varieties of material forms, which are counted at 8,400,000 species of aquatics, birds, beasts, etc. The fact is that unless one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, it is impossible to understand the ultimate form of the Lord. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Factual understanding of the absolute truth, who is the Supreme Person, cannot be obtained by any process other than devotional service. Dhruva Maharaj here compares his previous state of understanding with the perfection of understanding in the presence of the Supreme Lord. The position of a living entity is to render service. Unless he comes to the stage of appreciating the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he engages in the service of the various forms of trees, reptiles, animals, men, demigods, etc. One can experience that one man engages in the service of a dog, another serves plants and creepers, another the demigods, and another humanity, or his boss in the office. But no one is engaged in the service of Krishna. Aside from common men, Even men who are elevated in terms of spiritual understanding are the most engaged, are at the utmost engaged in the service of the Virata Rupa, or unable to understand the ultimate form of the Lord. They worship voidism by meditation. Dhruva Maharaj, however, had been blessed by the Supreme Lord. When the Lord touched his conch shell to Dhruva's forehead, real knowledge was revealed from within, and Dhruva could understand the Lord's transcendental form. Dhruva Maharaj here admits that not only was he ignorant, but by years he was only a child. It would not have been possible for an ignorant child to appreciate the supreme form of the Lord, and he not been blessed by the Lord, who had touched his conch shell to Dhruva's forehead. Jai. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Jai. First of all, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas present. I'm attempting to speak something from Srimad Bhagavatam, so I'll give it my best shot. So please, everyone, bless me so I may be able to speak something relevant and practical for everyone to use in their devotional lives. Hare Krishna. So we're studying the prayers of Dhruva Maharaj to the Lord. And this pastime is very nice because it gives us a lot of hope, as we have a lot of material desires. And Dhruva Maharaj originally he approaches the Lord for wanting a kingdom greater than his great grandfather. So he approaches with material desires, and ultimately he becomes a pure devotee. He becomes free from these material desires. So this is a very hope-giving pastime, and it also gives us a lot of practical practical sort of ways how we can practice our devotional service. and how we can apply it to our lives. So it's very nice. And in this verse, Dhruva Maharaj, he's praying to the Lord that before knowing you, before realizing you, I had only had experience of all these different material species of like different animals, birds, trees, plants, demigods, people, and my consciousness was only stuck to these things. So because his consciousness was within the material realm, he he wanted something within the material world when he got when in front of his when he got rejected from sitting on his father's lap, and he felt offended. So he felt a lot of pain that day, and because of that, and because of his only experience in the material world, he desired that, I'm going to get back at my father and my stepmother. I'm going to become an even greater king. I'll have even greater kingdom. That's what his thoughts were. And in that way, he took the advice of his mother, and he went out to the forest in search of the Lord. But we see in this verse that he's sort of we actually see him throughout these prayers. He's actually what we call sad that he is approaching the Lord for this. That because of my ignorance, O Lord, I'm coming to you for something that is so temporary, so little, so foolish for this kingdom, when I should actually be coming to you for your devotional service, to engage in your devotional service. And he felt real upset about that. And that's why it was he was theorizing that, I will get this amazing kingdom, and I will show my father, I'll show my stepmother, look, that I'm worthy. And now that theorizing, he's completely giving it up, because he says here that that now that I've experienced this beautiful form of yours, my Lord, all the methods of theorizing have come to an end. So this is Dhruva Maharaj's mood for this prayer. And it's very we often we hear the words it is a folly to be wise where ignorance is bliss. So people are blissfully unaware of actual reality. They're unaware of Krishna, and they're actually more comfortable being unaware of God, of Krishna, because this way they think they can enjoy and live life as much as they want. They actually thrive in this in their ignorance, and they think that it is bliss. Srila Prabhupada often says that when one worships God in this world, they are criticized. Now why is he worshiping God? But when one is worshiping a dog, he is considered very gentle. He's a nice gentleman. And then Prabhupada says that, so this is where people say that it is folly to be wise when ignorance is bliss. So why be wise and worship the Lord when in ignorance you can be blissful worshiping the dog? That is the misunderstanding of modern society, unfortunately. So, but what people don't realize is that when they worship the dog, they also become a dog. when they worship, or when they carry out their lives in ignorance, they lead themselves into further ignorance, and they lead themselves to further misery. So the bliss or whatever they feel may be temporary, but in the end they actually become defeated. And because their soul is defeated, because they are not achieving the ultimate perfection of their lives. So this is the ignorance that we're all living with. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter 5, verse 5, this chapter, Lord Rishabdev, who is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, he is giving instructions to his 100 sons on they were devotees anyways, but he was giving practical explanation on why we should be performing devotional service, and how we should carry out our lives in devotional service, and why we should not waste time in pursuing bliss and ignorance. So there's a nice verse. He says, Parabhavasta vadabhodajato yavanna jignashata atmatatvam yavat kriyasta vadidam manovai kama karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. He says As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear. And as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. So as long as one does not acquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subject to miseries arising from ignorance. So the point is that if we try to become blissful in ignorance, we have to accept another body. We become defeated because there is no profit, there's only loss, as one is subjected to further and further misery. One works so hard in their lives for the satisfaction of the body, ultimately to lose it at death. So there is actually zero profit. So we see the example in Srimad Bhagavatam of Vritrasura and Indra. Now, Vritrasura was a great demon. He was cursed. He was actually he was a devotee who was cursed to become a demon, and he was fighting Lord Indra, but in his heart he was alert to the fact that he was the servant of the Lord, and he was praying actually to Lord Krishna to engage him in his devotional service at the time of his death while he was fighting Indra. So in this pastime, Vritrasura, the demon, he dies, and Indra, the king of heaven, he wins. But what happens? The victory ultimately actually goes to Vritrasura because he ended up going back to the spiritual kingdom. He attained the attained the ultimate goal of life. Whereas Indra, the demigod, he was still stuck in this material world. And so we see the difference there, where the devotee Vritrasura, who wasn't ignorant to his spiritual reality, he was the one who attained ultimate success. So the victory for the spirit soul is when he becomes free from the clutches of Maya and from the cycle of birth and death. And this happens when he surrenders to Lord Krishna, just as Dhruva Maharaj did. And unless one serves the Lord, he has to serve the various other many species of life. As Dhruva Maharaj describes the different species, one ends up serving these species. And in his ignorance, he's defeated. And when he's defeated, when a person is defeated, we see in the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, his father Hiranyakashipu he had demoniac parents, and his father's brother Hiranyaksha, he was defeated. And then Hiranyakashipu, seeing that his brother was defeated, he starts theorizing, what he's going to do, how he's going to defeat Vishnu. And he sends like all his demoniac associates to go and terrorize the planet, the different planets and the saintly people. And then he himself comes up with his plan and worships Lord Brahma to gain heaps of powers and try to become the controller and the ruler. So when a living entity, when he tries to enjoy the material world, he becomes defeated in his pursuits. As we see, Hiranyakashipu also ultimately he becomes defeated by Prahlad Maharaj's devotion, and which calls Lord Nrsingadev to kill him and save him. So, and then when a person becomes defeated, he starts theorizing, and he starts thinking of newer and newer ways he can ultimately win. And because he's trying to win through ignorance, not on the platform of the spirit soul, he continues to be defeated, and he continues to rotate through the cycle of birth and death and the different species of life. So there's a nice story from which we can understand this point. So once there was an illiterate villager in his village, he saw heaps of people reading books. So he decided, I want to read books as well. And what happened was he couldn't understand the word so he would take the book and, he doesn't know what he's doing. But he saw one thing. He saw all these different people around me. They're all wearing glasses, spectacles. So maybe it's these spectacles that allow me to read the different books. So he went to the shop, the glasses shop, he goes to the store, the sorry, excuse me, the storekeeper, and he asks him, I need spectacles so I can read these books. And the shopkeeper's like, sure, yeah, well, I will show you the different kinds, and we can figure out which one's the right one for you. So he starts giving him the different spectacles, and he starts trying them on one by one. He tries them on, holds the book, uh, and he still can't read. And the shopkeeper is confused, looking at this villager. He's like, "What is he doing? Why is he holding the book upside down? You know, he wants to he thought that the person had an eye problem. That's why he couldn't read. But the villager, he's holding the book upside down, and the shopkeeper starts laughing, and then the villager tells the shopkeeper, like, none of your spectacles, none of your glasses, they are working. I no matter which glass I'm trying, I can't read the book. And then the shopkeeper's like, by any chance, do you not know how to read because you're holding the book upside down? And the villager says, no, I'm illiterate, I don't know how to read, but I see all these people, they're reading with these glasses, so I think that if I have glasses, then I can read the book. So the shopkeeper, he starts laughing at the villager, and he's like, no, it's because you don't know how to read that you can't read the book. It is not the glasses that help you read. So it's a very it's a funny story of the illiterate man, but the illiterate man actually represents us and our theorizing of how we can be happy. We only have experience of the different species of this material world, which are the products of this material nature. And these different species, they represent different spectacles. So we are trying on different spectacles, going around trying to see how we can enjoy through these different spectacles. But every time we try a new spectacle, we realize, actually, oh, there's not much enjoyment here, or we suffer. So then we're like, okay, let's move on to the next spectacle. And then we're going around in circles and circles. So this is what is actually happening to us, and we don't get any satisfactory happiness. And because we are only experiencing this material reality, we think that we are products of matter, and therefore we start theorizing like this villager, who thought that using spectacles, though being illiterate, it would help him read. So trying to understand this consciousness of such people who have only experience of matter, Lord Krishna describes such consciousness in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. He gives the mentality of such people. So he says, the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So Lord Krishna very nicely gives the mentality of people who have this theorizing nature that Dhruva Maharaj describes. And he's theorizing on how he will ultimately be happy, but it's never proven to be a fact. A person may be richest one day, and then the next day he may be on the streets. And no one has ever succeeded in becoming the complete controller and enjoyer, which is why it's only theoretical. The materialistic theory that you can work hard and get as much wealth as you want and you enjoy is only a theory. No one has actually proven that that one can get all material opulence and still be the enjoyer. But even though people see that no one has ever achieved it, people are still in the illusion because they only have experience of this material matter energy. that they still chase after it, thinking that this is the only place where I will find this enjoyment. And therefore, we learn from the verse of Lord Rishabdev that the person, he becomes defeated. And it's very nice. If we look at the word to word, the Srila Prabhupada translates the word vada to be various arguments. So we see that everyone has their personal theory on how to live life and how to enjoy, and they're basically their various arguments. We have so many arguments to not serve Lord Krishna, not to turn to him, and these all arise because of our mental concoctions, because we believe that our theories are to be true. And what do these mental concoctions do? They make us blind to reality. They make us blind to Lord Krishna. So we see, everyone knows the story of the four blind men, where they hear of this animal called an elephant, and they decide to go to the elephant and figure out what it is. They describe this elephant based on their limited experience, and all their descriptions are different from each other. One touches the leg of the elephant and he thinks that it's a big pillar. One touches the tail and he thinks that it's a rope. One touches the trunk and he thinks it's like a snake. And one touches the tusk and he thinks that it's like a big spear. And one touches the side of the elephant, the belly, and thinks it's a big wall. So all these blind men, they have limited experience. Just like us, we only have the limited experience of this material world. And based on this limited experience, we're trying to figure out how to enjoy life and how to live life. And this way, because we're not actually understanding the purpose of life and what is actually reality, we become defeated in our attempts. So because people only have experience of this body, they think on how we must enjoy this body. And people have so many definitions on this enjoyment. But just like the illiterate villager and these blind men, because we're ignorant of the vastavam vastu, the actual reality, we are defeated. So it's the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it propounds this. It says, Ghar mahaprojita kaitavotra paramo nirmaksaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shividam tapatrayun mulanam. So it says, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. So the highest truth, the Vastam Vastu, is reality which is distinguished from illusion. And what is that? This Vastam Vastu is accepting Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Supreme Absolute Truth in full 6 opulences. And that there is no greater truth besides Lord Krishna. And unless we come to this truth, our theorizing will not stop. And we will continue to engage in the service of Maya instead of engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. So the absolute truth refers to reality which does not change over time. Absolute means all other truths are relative to it or dependent on it. And when we talk about Krishna, we are talking about the absolute truth. Therefore, because we're looking for enjoyment in this temporary space and things keep on changing, it never works out for us. And therefore, we keep on theorizing newer and newer ways. But because Krishna is the absolute truth, he is unchanging. Once we achieve him, we stop our theorizing. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So if we refer back to the story of the illiterate villager, the book in the story represents our spirit soul. And this book, or the spirit soul, is looking for happiness. And we're trying to use different glasses to try to understand this book ourselves as a spirit soul and how we can give it happiness. But the accepting of different glasses represent the different species of life. But no matter what, we will not be able to understand the spirit soul if we are illiterate, if we have no understanding of it. And this understanding is given to us by the Shastras, by the spiritual teachers, the sadhus. So we have to come to the point of understanding of our real position, that we are the servants of the Lord and not the servants of material nature. Jivera Swarupa hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. So, as we actually see in this world, that we are always serving. So, for example, we see in this world people have, they buy nice cars and stuff, and then they try to add various modifications to the car, and they try to do various cool things to it, and they're serving this car, and then what happens to the car? Ultimately it grows old and they have to buy a new car. So they end up serving this car and then they have to buy a new car, and then they keep on following the cycle again and again and again. So similarly, we serve this body that we have got, and we serve the attachments to this body, such as your family, the nation, your job, and everything. And we ourselves, the soul, in the service of the body. You go a couple of verses back, Dhruva Maharaj himself says that he's asking for. He says, persons who worship you simply for sense gratification of this bag of skin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. We're not even worshiping the Lord, but still we are serving this bag of skin, and ultimately all it does is dies, and it merges back into matter at the end. But we ourselves as the soul get no benefit. So that's how Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that people are in their ignorance, they're just serving the skin, or and the things attached or related to the skin or this body, and they think that this is bliss. But the soul itself gets nothing, and while the inanimate body, it enjoys and ultimately perishes. But no one turns to Krishna in this situation, even though they see that they will ultimately be defeated. And because they continue to theorize more and more, they end up accepting newer and different bodies in this material creation. So therefore, Rishabdev says that para bhavas tavad abodha jato yavan jignasata atma tattvam. So as long as we do not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. So we see also in this day and age, people are quite ignorant of even the demigods or the higher beings. So even in Dhruva Maharaj's time, as a young boy, he accepted all the information given by the Vedas about the demigods and about even Lord Krishna or Vishnu himself. He had knowledge of all of this, and yet and in these days, yet we do not have this knowledge, and therefore it's even harder for us to turn towards Lord Krishna, who is transcendental. And therefore, with our limited sense perception in this day and age, we continue to theorize many different ways, and we try to figure out how to enjoy in this world. And then you have, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purports, that then you have, if people go above this, then you have the Gyanis, and they theorize that they will enjoy by merging with Brahman, by merging with the impersonal nature of the Lord. And then yogis, they theorize that we need to gain these siddhis, and this will give us enjoyment. But unless we come to the conclusive truth that Lord Krishna is the absolute truth, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, unless we come to that, our theorizing will not stop, because the yearning of the heart, the yearning of the soul that we are trying to fulfill, it is never accomplished, because the ultimate position for the soul is to be the servant of the Lord. And unless we become literate of that fact, as long as we remain illiterate, we will go through different theories, we'll go through different bodies of life. And unless we become literate of this fact, we won't stop our theorizing, and we will continue to be defeated and suffer in this world. But when one knows Krishna, our theorizing stops. And how is that so? So actually, you come to the point where there's no point in theorizing anymore. So our life is like a jigsaw puzzle, or our journey to Lord Krishna is like a jigsaw puzzle, you could say. And we're trying to put this jigsaw puzzle together and trying to figure out, how to enjoy, how to live life. And but we always feel that there's a piece missing. It never becomes completed. So Srila Prabhupada describes that our incompleteness is due to our ignorance of knowledge of the complete whole. As part and parcels of the complete whole, we enjoy in union with the complete. So as long as our puzzle that we're trying to piece together in our life is missing the Krishna factor, is missing the Lord, this puzzle will never come together. And we will continue theorizing how to put this puzzle together, and we'll go through a lot of stress. So when Krishna is there, the puzzle is amazing that it automatically comes together. We don't have to figure out how to put our puzzle together. You can buy at the store like 1,000-piece puzzle, or different 5,000-piece puzzle, and you can spend hours trying to figure out which piece goes where. But devotional service is so beautiful. Lord Krishna, he gives you the understanding from inside, So the puzzle, you don't have to worry about how to put the puzzle together. As soon as you accept Lord Krishna in your life, the puzzle automatically comes together as you practice more and more devotional service. And when the puzzle's together, you see the whole picture on what is reality. And because you're seeing the whole picture as it is, your theorizing mentality stops straight away. And that is what Dhruva Maharaj has realized in this verse. Now that he has finally seen Lord Krishna, he's saying, Lord Krishna, now that I've experienced you, all my theorizing has stopped. The puzzle of my ignorance or my life has been put together, and now I can see things as they are. So very nicely, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Yo mam evamasam mudho janati purushottamam sa sarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in the full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So when we realize Lord Krishna, we become the knower of everything because we get the full picture. And in that state, we turn to the service of Lord Krishna. So in this world, people haven't come to the stage yet of understanding Lord Krishna. But this world it's designed in a way that everything is actually made for us to turn towards Lord Krishna. We see in the chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna describes his various opulences. And all these opulences are actually there for us to remember the Lord. And this world acts in a way that, because our theorizing, our different attempts in trying to enjoy this world through the different spectacles becomes defeated. It's like a big balloon. Every time we start theorizing this, we start blowing air into the balloon. The balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, it'll fails, and then it goes pop, boom. And as soon as it goes pop, we become frustrated. Like our huge plans, everything that we're trying to do, suddenly all our plans get destroyed, and then we get frustrated and angry or depressed. And that's how that is also a way Lord Krishna has very mercifully made in this world, so that we realize that actually no one is successful in this material world, and that there must be an alternate way, and that we should search for Lord Krishna. So in that state, people, they begin their journey as Lord Rishabhadevs, to question spiritual life, and they begin the journey of self-realization. And this journey has two paths. So you have the gradual path and you have the direct path. Now, in the gradual path, what happens is the theorizing continues. In the gradual path, the person doesn't, he has a feeling, an inclination that there's something out there, there's some spiritual nature out there, that I'm the soul, and he's searching for something greater or something higher than this material world. But this is still his theorizing. He hasn't come to the ultimate conclusion. So he will come to demigod worship, then he may worship the universal form, then he will move on to impersonal Brahman, and then Paramatma, and then finally Bhagavan. This is the gradual process, takes very long. And this path is very tedious, and there's a lot of traps. And one can get lost in their theorizing, because we see that the Mayavadis, they have become lost completely. They believe that the absolute truth is formless, and that it is just consciousness, and that they themselves are absolute truth, and that they will merge into the absolute truth. This is all theory. Actually, there is no Shastric evidence for this. They manipulate the words of Shastra to give their own theory some basis. But actually, theory becomes fact when it is realized, and they can never realize themselves as the absolute truth. They may realize themselves as spirit, but they can never realize themselves as the absolute truth, because ultimately, when they try to merge themselves, they don't gain any satisfaction that the soul is looking for, and they ultimately come back to this material world. So their theorizing ultimately leads to their own defeat, because they can never turn that theory into a fact. And but the jiva, we can still realize ourselves as the servant of the Lord, and that when we realize the real fact that we are the servants of Lord Krishna, then your theorizing stops, because the theory has become reality. There's no point in theorizing anymore. And that is what Dhruva Maharaj has realized at this point, where because he has realized himself as a servant of Lord Krishna, he has realized this fact. He has stopped his theorizing. He's like, oh Lord Krishna, now I simply want to surrender onto you and engage in your devotional service. And that is so nice. And Lord Krishna also says this in Bhagavad Gita, when he's explaining to Arjuna in chapter 2 the symptoms of a person who has become self-realized. He says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita pragnastadochate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So this is a person who has become literate in the knowledge of the spirit soul. And because he's become literate of this fact, his various desires for sense gratification, his various theories which come from his own mental concoction, has gone away. So because he knows this fact, and he engages in devotional service. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that for us to come to this point of understanding Lord Krishna and understanding as ourselves as a spirit soul, the only way is by devotional service. There's no other way. He references the text 55 of chapter 18, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Factual understanding of the absolute truth, who is the Supreme Person, cannot be obtained by any other process other than devotional service. So we should engage in our devotional practice with full enthusiasm and enthusiasm and determination, so that we may also come to the same stage as Dhruva Maharaj and realize our position as a servant of the Lord and Lord Krishna as our supreme master, and our theorizing will stop. So how do we apply this verse to our day-to-day lives? So I was thinking about this, and I remembered a comment in a purport that Srila Prabhupada makes in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, text 4 to 5. In that verse, Lord Krishna is describing the various qualities that living entities have. And one of them is about controlling the mind. And in that, Srila Prabhupada says that similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called shama. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. This is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. So Srila Prabhupada here says something very nice. He says the power of thought, you know. So we often use our power of thought. So Srila Prabhupada here specifically says pondering money, but really we are using our power of thought and theorizing on how to enjoy. And even as devotees, though we have accepted Lord Krishna as the absolute truth, our theorizing hasn't stopped. It's very nice. We see in this pastime, and we are also very lucky. See, Dhruva Maharaj, we have the gradual process where people slowly come to Lord Krishna. But here, Dhruva Maharaj, not only his stepmother, his mother, and Narada Muni, all three of them told him to go to Lord Krishna, to Vishnu straight away. He was given the final conclusion, the absolute truth straight away. He didn't have to go through this gradual process. And we see that he took to Lord Krishna's devotional service straight away. And our position is non-different from Dhruva Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada has also given to us on a nice plate the whole conclusion of all the Vedas, of all the literature about Lord Krishna, and it is up to us to accept it. But the fact is, our theorizing hasn't stopped, but Dhruva Maharaj did. We see in Dhruva Maharaj's pastime, though he wanted this kingdom, you know, when we have something we want, you know, we start daydreaming. That is our tendency. So let's say we use Dhruva Maharaj as example. He wanted this kingdom. He could have used his power of thought or his mind's power to spend time thinking of how he would enjoy the kingdom, how he would humiliate his stepmother, or how he would humiliate his father, show how amazing he is. You know, people, that's what our tendency is, that we start daydreaming. It is not a problem that we plan our lives on how we're going to use our money or how we're going to get money, but we divert from that. We spend more time, you know, daydreaming on what we're going to do. And you often see this if you try introspect when you're chanting. Oftentimes during chanting, we end up daydreaming on like our different plans and things. So that's the difference we see between Dhruva Maharaj and us, is that though Dhruva Maharaj had his material desire, but he didn't waste his power of thought in daydreaming. And we see in this world, especially like maybe in Srila Prabhupada always gives the example between the boy and a girl. When there's attraction, the boy is always thinking of the girl and the girl is always thinking of the boy. And then the mind is often the cheerleader, you know, like, oh, this is nice, you know, continue using all your power of thought, thinking about these things, you know. Nothing of it is reality. Nothing has come to fructification yet. You know, the boy and girl just like each other, but nothing's happened yet. And then when something happens, it doesn't work out. And then you become frustrated that, you know, I spend all this time thinking about all this stuff, and then it doesn't work out, and you become frustrated. And in that situation, you see that all this mind's energy you have put into all this, you know, theorizing, all this daydreaming, it was a complete waste of time. And you'll see in our day-to-day lives that we daydream so much, and always whatever happens in life, it doesn't work out the way we think. Everything is always different, right? So why waste our time daydreaming? You know, we should develop this ability of introspection and try to catch ourselves when we start daydreaming, when our thoughts start pondering elsewhere. And if we catch ourselves at that point and then redivert our mind to Lord Krishna, then following Dhruva Maharaj's example, we'll be able to achieve Lord Krishna more quickly. So we see that, you know, many devotees are in the movement for many years, 10, 20 years, but we don't see much improvement in our bhakti, whereas Dhruva Maharaj, he achieved Lord Krishna so quickly. What is the difference between Dhruva Maharaj and us? We both have material desires, do we not? Dhruva Maharaj had a material desire. We are also full of material desires. We accept the fact. But we, both of us, are also have turned to Krishna. But Dhruva Maharaj, though he had the material desire, his focus was still on achieving Vishnu, because he knew Lord Vishnu would grant his material desires. So he didn't waste his mind's energy on daydreaming and trying to theorize, what he would be doing with all his material opulence and all that. Whereas us, not only do we have material desires, we start elaborating those material desires, and then we go into different garden paths and go into a forest, and we're completely gone in our delusions, and we tend to enjoy those delusions. So a practical way for us to understand this verse is that we have accepted Lord Krishna as the supreme personality of God, and that we are his servants. We also accept the fact that we have material desires, but let us stop daydreaming or theorizing and going wasting the power of our thoughts on such things. We should mold our lives in such a way, Srila Prabhupada says, that we cannot but help but think of Lord Krishna in that situation. So whether we are at home, whether we are at work, in the bathroom, at the gym, going outside for a walk, whatever we're doing, we should use first of all, we should use our power of thoughts to figure out how we can, in those situations, remember the Lord, and then slowly develop these positive habits in our life, so that our mind's energy is not wasted in daydreaming and thinking of other pointless things. So that's what we learned. So the conclusion is that let us stop theorizing and let us start prioritizing Lord Krishna, and that will be the victory of our soul. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for listening to me for so long. If anyone has any questions or comments or anything they would like to add, or in case I've missed anything, please, and if I've said anything wrong, or please forgive me, I'm just trying to learn. Tried my best. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Punit Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Very, very nice class. You got so much of example of theorizing the things. It's nice. Top to bottom, it is very clear understanding. You got the right perspective of the text. It's very, very nice. You have done a very good job. You have taken so much of time to understand that verse. Even I was trying yesterday to find out the sources. I couldn't do that. But you have done so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We loved how you said your class, and we thought it was a mantra probably speaking.
Oh no.
Actually, they were just listening, and they didn't knew who was giving the class, but they thought it's somebody. Very nice class, Punit Prabhuji. Very nice learnings, and I like the story also which you said about the illiterate person. We all are in that. We were. Right now, we are getting literate on the path of literacy.
Getting literate on the soul.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your realizations, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Punit. Yeah, I am also thinking, just your style like Amarendra Prabhu. And just starting that Kirtan is amazing. And your content of that verse is really, really very clear. And it's a very good message to us as well. Thank you. Thank you to see you. You are giving the lecture very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Punit ji.
Punit Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, just one note. I think your comparison with the jigsaw puzzle was brilliant. Very unique example. Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Punit Prabhu, very transcendental class. We look forward for your more classes in future. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think we all really relished the class and your examples. I'm not sure if anyone else has any questions or comments, but I didn't hear anyone else, so maybe we'll end here. But thank you very much, Prabhu, and yeah, we'll hope to hear from you again. I think, this evening we're hearing from you again.
I haven't
Yeah,
done
3 o'clock.
any preparation.
Yeah.
I was focused on this one, but I'll try my best.
All right. So the future of ISKCON looks really bright, Prabhu.
Yes, yes.
We got the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, very good comment, Prabhuji. Yeah, it looks very shining. Keep going.
Yes. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha
कृपा सिंधु भयवच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की पुनीत प्रभु की जय
Jai.
Jai, Punit Prabhu ki jai. Nice class.
See you again at 3 o'clock.
Very nice class.
Thank you, and please, I'm just trying to please give me your blessings. Only by your blessings can I actually speak. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful realizations, Punit Prabhu. Thank you so much for taking up this service. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.